as great as it was still the first tournament, and you could tell, right? Like the vending wasn't all the way set up, the parking lot wasn't already set up. Them, they're like, and of course, like we hear where the clubhouse is going. The clubhouse is going to be built. So like this was, I don't want to say premature because the fucking Williams brothers put it together. Nick Carl did everything they needed to do to make it a legit stop. And that was with a full week's rain before it also, like that whole entire All-Star event. But it's also one of those where it's like, man, I know it's going to improve and I know it's going to get better. And like the vending will get better. You know what I mean? The parking will get better. But yeah, man, it was a cool stop, cool people. And all the family members, man, I think I think Paul Krantz's dad came up to us, Gavin Phillips.
Kyle Klein's uncle
Oh,
bought us a beer.
Yeah, Kyle Klein's uncle. I mistakenly thought it was Cynthia Ricciotti's dad.
Yeah, and it was awkward.
It was awkward as he's buying me a beer. I ask him how to pronounce his last name. That was good. And then it came together. I'm like, oh man, you're Kyle Klein's uncle. That's even cooler.
So that was when we officially met Casey for the first time.
Yeah, man, that was wild.
Yeah. All the reconnects, like that we were kind of thought we were friends with pros, and we never communicated all off season. It was kind of cool seeing who would come up to us and high five us, dap us up, or whatever. It's like, oh, we are friends. Awesome, dope. Trying to think of how we even recorded. I think that our process for the first event, we sat on one hole. Can't think of the hole it was, but I visualized the hole. We sat there for basically every single card and recorded every player that was coming through because we thought might as well include as many players as possible. So in our vision, I mean, we posted a video way back when. Way back when. They had over 200,000 views. If it was a compilation of every pro throwing off hole one at the country club. So that was our thought process. Copy this, add our style underneath, add the overlays, and then use the DGPT clips when it makes sense via the story.
I think we were even possibly contemplating just running a repeat of that video. Like, hey, here's every pro, throw this.
We tried, that we definitely later in the season there were holes that we tried doing it, and it just didn't hit like the same. So,
and that was kind of like our adjustment along the lines on how we did our content and like how, you know what I mean? It's as much as figuring out what worked and like trying to duplicate it, but it's always also constantly adjusting. And so like, man, like even our prep, we kicked on our video, watched our own video, watched what happened, some of the conversations that happened. Cause like, man, this event still wasn't clean in its own right. Like we said, we had bad weather, muddy conditions.
This is the first event after the PDG Live switch from UDisc, so there wasn't even full stats.
Lost it on a whole day. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it crashed.
Like on a Saturday. Yeah. Every tournament.
It was cool, too. That was one of the first times when, to me, you can tell we were on tour, and it mattered more because if you watch the first recap, we have clips of PDG or DGPT officials handing out scorecards to everyone because PDG Live went down, and this year the rule changed where every person had to keep score. So everyone needed a scorecard. And if they weren't handed one, we actually had footage of that happening. No one else could say they did that. So that was one of the parts where like, cool, it kind of matters that we're here for this.
Yeah. And I think like as we got more comfortable along with like last tour, like, man, last tour, there's obviously ropes. And our biggest thing is we don't want to interrupt the play, right? So we played it too safe. Admittedly, and this last time, you know what I mean, we're kind of like we just decided to like, hey, we're gonna act like we're supposed to be here, right? Like, and that's kind of our thought process.
And it was pretty much just standing where we always thought we're.
Yeah.
And it was whenever a DGPT camera guy would stand, it would be next to them.
Normally
the play.
And so like it was doing a lot of that, and like I do remember it was just such a different process to when we were out there, and like just seeing it from day one, getting recognized. Man, we had like people coming up from Europe. I remember like a guy asked me if I was actually from Switzerland, and I'm like, no. But like, so like, you know what I mean? So like when you have like aspects of that, and like then to like get proven, like getting substantial stuff to being like, yeah, this is why we're onto it, right? Like this is a story, sure, that would be told, but to be able to show it is groundbreaking for what this sport has hasn't had, right?
Mhm.
As far as like disc golf content, for the most part, prior to what we were running, it was literally coverage plays for years, coverage plays and podcast. You know what I mean? And to be able to do when it came to the pro aspects, I should say. So like when it came to be like, hey, we're here, we could show this, we could show them handing out hand cards and we can discuss it. And
Or being told from players specifically and how
yeah,
this is a drag and how this is annoying and what they have to do. I remember even I don't know if I can name. Can I name players? Is it fucked up if
I
I
don't
name
know.
it? Okay, well, one
Go
of the
ahead.
players while they were doing scores,
You
one
can
of
you want to whisper it? I'll say yes or no.
it's
Ooh,
yeah, I don't know. It's like
that
right
was a
on the
tough
board.
one.
I don't know. I'm
I
not
don't
gonna say
mind
it.
it.
I know we don't mind it, but I don't
I
want to not be
gotcha.
friends with the guy.
Sure.
Someone at the beginning, every time on hole one, the pros were asked, "Do you want to keep your own scores?" And he's like, "Why the fuck? Don't ask me that ever again. Like I'm a professional. Why would I do that for myself?"
Yeah. Or
God, you
stats
know, it
too.
makes
Didn't they
sense.
have stats
Yeah.
also? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so it's like you hear stuff from that firsthand, or you're told things from that, and it's like, cool. Now I know how to tell the story because, yes, you can blow it off as the pros need to get over it, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, this is their professional, this is their
Which is, trust me, that is
livelihood.
most of the comments in every one of our videos.
And they need,
Pros need to stop crying and just get used to it, is what we hear so
especially for the
often.
first event of the year, it's like, this is, everyone's at the, like, the high point where it's like, this is my
For
year, I'm going to
sure.
pop off out of it. And then it's
Yeah.
like, don't have any distractions for them. And this is, to them, this is how they perceive something that wasn't, that they liked. The only way that can be changed is if someone like us can make that known to the public. Now, if it
Absolutely.
changes, whatever. But no one can say it wasn't known, which is our job and how I think, at least.
Yeah, man. And that's what we always wanted. And like, as much as it was like, hey, when we're on tour, it's to make our content better and to have like cuts, but it's also to like, so much of our like, man, so much of disc golf is just already lost. Like non-existent, to where, unlike other sports when you have the LeBron and MJ conversations, you can pull up highlights. Like we don't have that to the extent that we could. And to be able to provide some different aspect of that, or to be able to like show that, like this was also the first event with the time. Like, wasn't it Ricky who got like docked, or who?
Yeah, you got
Man,
to be there 5 minutes
yeah,
before.
this was
Yeah.
the first. This was the first
Yeah.
event with the time, and that being, and people getting caught up on that, like, and then like it's also like the stupid stuff, like the P gate that was happening in the
I
parking lot
forgot
at the
about
next.
that. Yeah.
But like none of this is like, what I mean? The DGBT is not going to talk about it. They're not going to ask about it, and like a lot of the established content creators, or what people view as content creators, is like, I think too many people are afraid to say when things are negative. And because of that, like, I don't think it portrays an accurate picture of what our sport is. And if you're not portraying an accurate picture, how do you improve? Like Jefferson said. So, like, to be able to just be able to show that is like so huge. And like to have that value, like to come, man, I couldn't tell you like how amped I was coming into that first stop, getting the recognition, getting people to say they dig us, like finding it easy to get content, putting mics in front of people's hands, like, and like just finding all of that far simpler on this trip. And then to turn around and be like, man, we caught the PDGA going down, right?
Mhm.
We caught this, we caught that. In later episodes, hey, I caught James Conrad slipping off a tee. Hey, I caught this ace. Like to be able to like have those moments and to be like, if I wasn't there, this would just be a story, right? Like,
Mhm.
and that's kind of the neat things that, and to get like that validation first off, certainly helps you prepare you when you're going to go live in Texas for a month. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And like to be, and the travel of it all is kind of neat. Like, so as much as like, what I mean, the culture was a little different. Like we didn't get to experience much of the Florida, like actual disc golf culture, but what we were able to provide on the DGBT tour stop was like immense. So the other weird aspect of being on the road, and like unlike pros are usually trying to get to the next stop as quickly as possible to get to the practice rounds, right? Or to their next tournament. So like usually they're in and out. Like we got a day of editing on Mondays. Usually our like travel days are Tuesday and everything along those lines. But like when you have a house to stay and you got time off, like we're kind of open. We just decided to hit up Nick Carl and like
Oh, dude.
hit up an interview.
I forgot about that because when I sent him the original, I forgot it was probably like Sunday or Saturday or sometime during the event, super late at night. We're like, oh, this is a great idea. Pulled up the Instagram, sent him a nice DM, and then cool, he responded. And then I look back at how I sent him the message. Definitely called him Matt. So
Oh fuck.
thankfully, he still took the interview. And just the next day, he's like, pull up at the course. We pull up, park, basically right on that. We just put like
Yeah,
wherever we wanted, like right up front.
for
And then we
sure.
just aimlessly walked around, taking some B-roll shots, ran into Nick on the somewhere on the course. Then we were scoping out locations. We found the green on hole 18. Like, dope, this looks cool. Set up a little tripod, set up a stool, and just ask some questions. It's so funny. That was literally how it went. And then Jeff Corns was like nearby. We're like, hey, you're the TD. You want to jump in
Yeah.
on this thing? And he agreed to it. And then all of a sudden, we put out that video, and 30,000 views later, we could tell the story of the first DGPT event of 2024, and all of what they wanted to be known was told.
Yeah, the work that was put in with Nick Carl, the Williams brothers, everything they did, the amount of mulch they brought in. And like it was kind of neat to give the TD more than a 5 minute interview.